The loud crash of a ceramic coffee cup silenced the entire cafe. For a brief moment, nobody moved. The woman stood frozen beside the counter, her hands trembling as dark coffee spread across the polished floor. Several customers turned to stare. Some looked annoyed. Others simply watched. But one man's attention wasn't on the broken cup. His eyes were fixed on the humiliation written across the woman's face. Rowan Hale had seen that look before. As a single father raising his 8-year-old daughter alone, life had taught him what it felt like to struggle in public while strangers judged from a distance. He knew what it felt like when people assumed weakness meant failure. The cafe manager marched toward the woman, clearly frustrated. The accident had interrupted the busy morning rush, and several customers were already whispering among themselves. The woman attempted to apologize, but anxiety seemed to steal her voice. Without thinking, Rowan stepped forward. He calmly helped gather the broken pieces and assured the staff that accidents happened. He offered to pay for the damaged cup if necessary, even though he barely had enough money to cover his own breakfast. The tension slowly faded. The woman looked at him with surprise. Not because he had helped, but because he had done so without expecting anything in return. Rowan returned to his table and sat beside his daughter, Ivy. The little girl smiled proudly at her father, and that smile alone made every hardship worth enduring. Life had not been kind to Rowan. 3 years earlier, his wife had passed away after a sudden illness, leaving him to navigate grief while raising a young child. The loss shattered him. Yet every morning he woke before sunrise, prepared Ivy for school, worked long hours as a maintenance technician, and somehow found enough strength to tuck her into bed each night with a story and a promise that tomorrow would be better. Most days, he wasn't sure he believed that promise himself. Money was always tight. Bills arrived faster than paychecks. His aging truck seemed determined to break down at the worst possible moments. But Rowan never complained. He simply kept moving forward because his daughter needed him. Across the cafe, the woman quietly watched him. Her name was Celine Vaughn. To everyone around her, she appeared to be an ordinary customer dressed in simple clothes. No one would have guessed that she owned one of the largest technology investment companies in the country. Her net worth was measured in billions. Yet wealth had never protected her from loneliness. Years of success had surrounded her with people who wanted something from her. Business partners wanted deals. Investors wanted profits. Strangers wanted access to her fortune. Very few people ever treated her like a human being. What she witnessed that morning felt different. Rowan had defended a complete stranger without knowing her name, status, or bank account. For the first time in a very long time, someone had impressed her. Days passed. Then weeks. Fate seemed determined to bring them together. Celine began visiting the cafe more frequently. Sometimes she arrived while Rowan and Ivy were there before school. Sometimes she happened to cross paths with them in the nearby park. At first, their conversations were brief. Then they grew longer. She learned about Ivy's love for drawing. She learned about Rowan's endless sacrifices. Most importantly, she discovered that his kindness wasn't an act. It was simply who he was. Meanwhile, Rowan knew almost nothing about Celine's true life. He assumed she worked in an office somewhere downtown. He never asked about her finances because he genuinely didn't care. What mattered was how she treated people. And Celine treated everyone with warmth and respect. Months later, trouble arrived. The apartment building where Rowan lived was sold to a development company. Residents were informed that rents would increase dramatically. For many tenants, it was devastating news. For Rowan, it felt impossible. Even after working overtime, he couldn't afford the increase. The thought of uprooting Ivy from her school and friends broke his heart. He spent sleepless nights calculating numbers that refused to work. One afternoon, Celine noticed the exhaustion on his face. Though he tried to hide his worries, she could sense the burden he carried. Eventually, he shared the situation. Not seeking help. Simply explaining why he seemed distracted. Celine listened carefully. That evening, she sat alone in her penthouse overlooking the city lights. For years, she had solved business problems worth millions of dollars without hesitation. Yet helping Rowan felt strangely different. This wasn't about money. It was about protecting someone who deserved a fair chance. The following week, an unexpected opportunity appeared. A respected facilities management company contacted Rowan regarding a senior supervisory position. The salary was nearly double his current income. The benefits were excellent. The schedule would allow him more time with Ivy. It seemed too good to be true. After several interviews, Rowan received the job. He was overwhelmed with gratitude. What he didn't know was that Celine had quietly recommended him after learning the company was seeking leadership candidates. She never requested special treatment. She simply ensured that decision-makers saw the remarkable qualities she already recognized. Once they met him, the job became his through merit alone. Life began changing. The constant financial pressure eased. Ivy finally received the art supply she had dreamed about for years. Their small apartment felt brighter. Hope returned. Then came the revelation. One afternoon, Rowan arrived at a downtown event hosted by his new employer. As he entered the grand ballroom, his eyes widened. There, displayed on giant screens throughout the venue, was a photograph of Celine. Not as a guest. As the keynote speaker. As the billionaire founder whose investments had helped build countless successful companies. The realization hit him like a wave. Everything suddenly made sense. The business articles. The security personnel who occasionally appeared nearby. The respect she commanded wherever she went. When Celine walked onto the stage, she spotted Rowan standing among the crowd. For a moment, neither looked away. After the presentation ended, she approached him. There was no embarrassment in her expression. Only honesty. She explained everything. The wealth. The company. The hidden identity. And most importantly, the reason she had never revealed it sooner. She wanted someone to know her before knowing her fortune. Tears filled Rowan's eyes as he listened. Not because she was wealthy. But because he finally understood how lonely her life had been. He realized that despite all her success, she had been searching for something money could never buy. Genuine human connection. The same thing he had unknowingly given her that morning in the coffee shop. Years later, people would often assume their story began with wealth. They were wrong. It began with compassion. It began with a broken coffee cup. It began with a single father choosing kindness when it would have been easier to look away. And in the end, that simple choice transformed two lives forever. Before we finish, if this story touched your heart, please like, share, and comment below. Your support helps more people discover stories that remind us goodness still exists in the world. Special request, comment the word kindness if you believe one small act can completely change someone's future. As Rowan, Ivy, and Celine built a beautiful life together, they never forgot the lesson that brought them there. Wealth may open doors, success may create opportunities, but kindness remains the most powerful force of all. Sometimes the greatest blessings arrive when we help someone with no expectation of reward. And sometimes, the person standing quietly beside us is carrying a story far bigger than we could ever imagine.